Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/nuclear revenge, where the revenge may have been pro, but it turned out to be nuclear. If you enjoy, remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and all that wonderful YouTube stuff. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Aunt broke my model kit, so I took away her everything. This whole thing started exactly a year ago, but we just ended, and a friend told me to post it here, so off we go. I live in Turkey, and as you know, southeast of my country was wrecked by a couple of giant earthquakes a year ago. My city was the epicenter, and while the house I lived in with my family wasn't destroyed, a lot of shelves got knocked off, and one of them was the one where I held my Gumpala kits. Out of all the kits I had, only one survived an MG, the Zero, that was heavily customized. I had built it with my grandfather, who passed away a few years ago, so I was ecstatic it survived. A few months later, everything had calmed down, so my mother called her relatives for dinner, which included Aunt B. She came alongside her son, which is 8, an entitled brat. While the adults were drinking coffee, the little brat banged into my room and demanded to play with my computer, which I refused since I was editing a video for my college society and had the camera on. Well, the brat went back crying to her mother, who came back and started yelling at me. While I was dealing with her, little brat climbed with my desk and took my model kit, then immediately dropped it and stepped on it. The rest is just yelling, me swearing them up and down and telling them they were going to pay for it, with her calling me a weirdo for still having toys, and that she wasn't going to pay for anything. My mother was at the first bit not into making her pay to keep the peace, but when she realized it was the kit I made with my late grandfather, her father, she was angrier than I was, and was out for blood. We took the case to a friend of ours who's a lawyer that specializes with in-family cases, and they told us since my camera caught it all, we would definitely win. But it was better to come to an agreement out of court in a settlement, since it would be cheaper. I pulled out a price list of these kits I needed to make an exact replica of the one that was destroyed, and it came out to just $1,000 which came to about 25,000 to 27,000 TRY with the exchange rate. Well, she refused, so we took her to court. She pulled all kinds of BS to not pay and delay, but the judge ended up making her pay $1650 USD, plus an order for her to pay any border taxes on the replacement kits, alongside the court and lawyer fees. It completely screwed her savings, and her husband, who was already waiting for a chance to divorce, took it. When it all ended, she had nothing, and even lost her brat's custody to her ex-husband. And she not only lost the down payment she had for a house, she lost all her savings and didn't get any alimony from her husband. Am I happy her life got completely screwed? Nah, not really. Do I feel sorry it happened? Not in the slightest. She and her crotch goblin screwed around and found out. It's that simple. I feel bad for her husband, though. He's gonna be the one trying to make that brat into a normal person, and I don't envy his job in the slightest. I agree with OP. The job the husband has is no small task, but I have faith he will turn that kid into a good adult someday. And if he doesn't, well, we're just gonna have another criminal on the streets, aren't we? Anyway, on to the next story. Neighbor ruined my garden. I turned his yard into a swamp. Get ready for a wild ride, folks. This is the story of how my battle with a neighbor over my beloved garden led me to transform his pristine yard into a swamp. And in the process, I became a local legend. It all started when I moved into a new house, which came with a small but charming garden. Gardening quickly became my passion, and I spent months turning that space into a blooming paradise, full of flowers and a few veggies. My neighbors seemed to appreciate the view. Well, all except one. Let's call him Grumpy Greg. Grumpy Greg was the kind of guy who took too much pride in his perfectly manicured lawn, the type that looks more like a golf course than a yard. He despised my garden, calling it untidy and an eyesore that attracted pests. I tried to reason with him, offered to keep it more contained, even suggested setting up a small face. But oh no, Greg wanted it gone. One morning I woke up to find most of my garden destroyed, flowers uprooted, veggies trampled, and my small bird bath, oh, that was smashed. I knew it was Greg. There was no proof, but who else would it be? I was furious, heartbroken, but then inspiration struck. I remembered Greg's one true love, his flawless lawn. I did some research and found the perfect, most diabolical, yet completely legal revenge. I bought hundreds of water retention crystals, the kind meant to help soil retain moisture for plants, except I wasn't planning on using them for their intended purpose. Under the cover of night, I went to work, spreading these crystals all over Greg's precious lawn. These tiny crystals are harmless, but when they come into contact with water, they expand, holding many times their weight in water. And wouldn't you know it, the forecast predicted a week of heavy rain starting the next day. The rain came, and the crystals did their job way too well. Greg's perfect lawn transformed into a squishy, waterlogged mess. Every step taken on the grass felt like stepping on a waterbed. The lawnmower got stuck, and the yard had become the neighborhood's newest swamp. Greg was livid, blaming everyone and everything for his misfortune, but couldn't prove a thing. It took weeks for the effects to wear off, and by then, his lawn never truly recovered. In the meantime, I rebuilt my garden even better than before. Neighbors who learned about the ordeal and Greg's role in destroying my garden came to help, bringing plants, seeds, and even a new bird bath, a place where neighbors would stop by to chat and admire the flowers. As for Greg, he became a lot less grumpy, especially after I casually mentioned how unpredictable gardening can be, and it's important to have good relationships with your neighbors. He got the message loud and clear. So that's the tale about how I turned a bully's yard into a swamp, and in the process united our little community. Sometimes a bit of creative thinking and a whole lot of water retention crystals is all it takes to stand up to a bully and come out on top. Can I swim in the swamp? Is the swamp still there? I want to go swimming in a swamp. Fuck, now I'm going to have to go to the hot tub after this recording session. I'm too lazy to remove that from recording. Anyway, on to the next story. Make up rumors that I have CP and I'm a prostitute because I won't date you? Goodbye to your new $150,000 car, and hello prison and a ruined life. So, the characters here are me, an 18 male, unmedicated senior, psycho incel, referred to as PI. So for backstory, I was the only gay kid in what felt like my entire small, deep south southern town, and came out very young, so that identity kind of stuck. My family was mostly very supportive, and I'm grateful for that because outside of 2 or 3 friends, I might as well have had a scarlet A branded to my forehead. Eventually, though, a few other people came out, one being a PI, a very wealthy, spoiled, all-American, entitled kid who drove a very, very expensive car. Now, when he first came out, it was to no one's surprise, but regardless, a mutual friend was worried it would be a hard time, and asked if I would befriend him, gave him tips on how to get through it, and so on. I, of course, said yes, which turned out to be a big mistake. Now, by this time, I never cared what anyone thought because the people that mattered had already made it apparent and vice versa. I was pretty open about that fact, and I was actively dating someone much older than me. I don't want to hear if that's not the point of the story, and was a wonderful and healthy relationship that my conservative traditional dad even supported, so shut up. Now, after getting coffee with P.I. and being friendly, he apparently developed feelings for me. And after he confessed, I gently told him I was seeing someone and that I was very happy. This was common knowledge in our gossip-ridden high school, anyhow. And that was apparently not acceptable to P.I., and he went ballistic. In small towns, there are often what's known as junior-senior wars, where the two grades have a war of harmless, albeit annoying pranks. However, our school was not completely uncivilized, so there was a group chat for both grades to discuss rules, limits, such as no damaging, no hitting houses if someone expressed that they weren't participating, renting, and so on. Well, in that group chat with over 1,000 kids, P.I. thought it would be a great time to drop bombshell number 1. I had expressed that I was not participating, to not hit my house, it's rented, and so on and so forth. QPI responding directly and saying, "What, you can't afford to buy it with all the money you've been making being a prostitute for your 50-year-old boyfriend?" I would like to say first off, my boyfriend was nowhere near that age. I saw red. I loved that man to death and felt a forehead vein practically hemorrhage. Safe to say, the rumor passed through the high school and to the community. My coaches took me aside, our extra religious teachers tormented me more, and I was a pariah. Oh well, I had acceptance to a top university, my friends, boyfriend, and family. I was almost done, and then the next rumor dropped, and this is when I went nuclear. One day I got a call from my friend, and immediately I knew something was wrong. Apparently our little PI had decided it was a good idea to lie and tell people I had cheated on my boyfriend, made a video with him, and it was with a junior, someone under 18, none of which was remotely true. Thankfully, he was very popular and very straight, also was in an obsession of PIs and knew where it came from, and he agreed to. In writing express, none of this was true, and gave me copious amounts of evidence, screenshots of texts, Instagram DMs, and screenshots of PI's online harassment. I kept all of this in a file just in case this ever got out, and I needed to defend myself. Thankfully, it never became more than a funny, impossible, salacious story made up about me. However, it was too late for him, as I was already very mentally unstable, and this would have ruined everything I was writing on. And now, on to my revenge. So not only was P.I.'s car brand new, but it was a new car, because he had destroyed his old one, and was not getting another. Love small-town gossip, but also, driving through someone's house is pretty conspicuous. Now, I admit, this did not come up Well, I did not come up with this. I read it in a fan fiction, but it already worked out very well. First thing I did was go to the furthest bait and tackle shop I could find, and bought catfish bait. Now, if you don't fish, you might not know, but catfish love the stinkiest, smelliest slop. I knew the parking lot of my school had no security cameras, because my car already had been vandalized. I did embrace the F word carved into my door with pride eventually. And then I got to work in the cold February morning. The first thing I did was hammer nails into 3 of his tires. Now, this wouldn't pop them immediately, but they would eventually each deflate at a much more inconvenient pace than if they were slashed. Then I took poison ivy and rubbed it all over the door handles of his car. Afterwards, I took a mix of gravel and Vaseline and spread it all over the windshield wipers, which would just scratch the hell out of it once he used them. My favorite, however, was using the catfish bait. Knowing enough about cars, also known as copious Googling, I figured out how to get to the AC portion and poured in the catfish bait. Sadly, I wouldn't be able to witness this, but he wouldn't be using his AC for another month or so since it's still cold. All that time left for it to rot, fester, congeal. And the first day it's warm and he decides to blast the AC, his car will be filled with the fumes of 1,000 rotten piles of roadkill and low tide without getting any idea where it's coming from or how to get rid of it. The next part of this story is honestly out of pure dumb luck, and I can't claim complete responsibility for the universe's work. However, I, being the obsessive paranoid type, would check out his socials from a burner account now and again. Perhaps hoping to hear about his fishy car, or to see if he aired out more rumors about me. One day I found something odd. There was nothing. Every single social media was gone, out of pure curiosity. I googled his name and found something very juicy and very crazy. He was arrested in an entirely different state for attempting to impersonate a government official and bring a gun into a theme park. Whew, safe to say that didn't fly, but it also did not get enough traction as I would like, and thus I sent it to everyone I knew in our small town. His summer job, future college, our high school, and that giant group chat over 1,000 people? Yeah, it got sent there as well. By the end of the day, he was a pariah, jobless and collegeless. I left my town and honestly haven't heard anything about him, since I can't imagine he amounted to much more being that insane, and with that type of crime as well. That was wild, OP. Oh my god. I'm glad the second thing he did didn't really go too far, though. You could have been really screwed by that. Anyway, that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/CountJulius. I play roguelike games once a week on there. Now, I will see you all next time. Hasta la pasta. Bye-bye.